Giant Stalker, Dragon Stalker, Crypt Stalker, Demon Stalker, Rift Stalker, Grown Stalker, Crypt Stalker, Scourge Stalker, Wind Runner, I'm a boning Lead Skill Hunter. A Death Dealer, a Life Stealer, that's just the cost of being.
Welcome to episode 141 of the Hunting Party Podcast. This is Euripides from WoW Insider, OTPS, and the Call to Auction Podcast.
And I'm Darkroot for thebrewhall.com and the Brewhall on Twitter.
And this is Frosttime from Warcraft Hunters Union, WoW Insider, and Frosttime WHU on Twitter.
And I'm Alexander from the Hunting Party Podcast.
Hey.
All right. And today is Saturday, August the 18th, 2012. And if you want to participate in the chat room and aren't registered, just go to the chat window. And today you can type, will you guys ever talk about PvP in the chat window? And it'll be prompted to register. And we may even talk about PvP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in any case, if you do have a question, you can send a PM to Ollie Sonder in the chat room, and she will rank your questions in terms of whether they get asked in order
Based
of
on
who has the most inventive description of Frostheim's wrist hair.
Oh, seriously, no. I think today's question is,
Classic.
how long would you last in a duel against Zumio?
Oh,
That's what I want to know.
That's even better. So this week, speaking of which, we are thrilled to have Zumio on the show. Zumio is a PvP hunter whose YouTube channel has been very popular and instructional as somebody who's watched a few of the videos. So welcome to the show, Zumio.
Hi, cheers.
All right.
Welcome.
And before we get into
Oh, right, you want me to...
No,
That's all right, go on.
See, this is what happens when you guys change the lines and it falls apart. We spent 140 episodes to get used to this order of lines, Ollie. I don't know what the hell you did. It broke us. So before we get into PvP, I should point out that we are joined today in the live chat room by Akatur, Aspects, Bellasky, Blue Jay1, BM Jager, Shiami, Darva, whoop, I just scrolled the wrong direction, Elapide, Esnavip, Foxtrap 05, Gobo, Greco, Alonius, Havtor, Helfark the Hunter, Homer Jade, IC, Induatis, Lele Win, Lorinar, Larethes, Mullingrew, Primock, Shroud Viper, Slugslinger, Solar Knight, Synth Paradox, Taylor, Wright, One, Warvinny, Rek, Zudamus, and as always, your lovely moderator, Ollie Sonder. And see,
Yes.
now I would normally go into the question thing, but it's all gotten screwed up.
Well, then I'll just take your line. So before we start talking with Zumio about PvP, let's just go over some of the news and announcements.
Today, Saturday the 18th, is the final WHU All Hunter Raid. That is tonight on the Ice Crown server, however, there will be no cross-realm raiders in the raid tonight because we're doing Dragon Soul content only. So this is going to be a 10-man, and I know Arth is concerned about whether he'll actually have enough hunters. So if you can make it, please come. Furthermore, Arthemistia is also opening the vent channel up to anyone, even if you're not in the raid, just in case you want to hang out and listen in on how things are going.
Awesome.
All right. That sounds like fun.
So in the news, the pre-patch will be released on August 28th. I think, I don't know if you guys talked about that last week, but the news has been out since probably 30 seconds after the show was over.
That's pretty much what happened, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is patch 5.0.4 will be hitting on August 28th. That means on August 28th, all of our talents are changing. You're not going to be able to use your melee weapons anymore. You're going to, have the new glyphs, kind of all of the new mechanical stuff, including new abilities from lower level abilities. So all of that stuff is going to change. Right now, I actually haven't looked. There's been, ironically, 2.5 patches since last time I ran numbers, because we got a new patch that hasn't actually hit the beta yet. But as of after the Great Sky is Falling, 8,500 DPS was actually looking a little lower. So I really hope that some of these buffs that got slipped in that we'll talk about shortly pick us back up, so we're not actually losing DPS with the pre-patch, because that just blows.
Fair enough. So it looks like the beta build that is available to the public is still 15983. I know that MMO Champion released some data about a new one that hasn't been deployed yet, but it probably will be soon. So we should probably go through at least a couple of the salient points here.
Yeah, and we certainly saw smaller changes than the giant sky is falling changes, but, it was a mix of buffs and nerfs. Arcane Shot got buffed. It went up from 75% weapon damage to 100% weapon damage, and Arcane Shot lately has been a yo-yo.
It has, because prior to the 100%, it was 110% in something else. So now it's kind of in between. It's reached some sort of in between point. So maybe this is where it's going to end up. Yeah.
So hopefully, this is probably where it's going to end up. Maybe there'll be one more patch coming in before 5.0.4 hits, but don't have a lot of time anymore. Kill Shot was also buffed a little bit. Actually, it was buffed a little substantially. I think it went from 300% weapon damage to 420% weapon damage. And keep in mind, Kill Command is changing, so the Glyph of Kill Command is baked into the Kill Command ability.
Exactly.
It's also something we'll all get with 4.0.3, which is
nice.
Sweet!
It's nice to see Kill Shot actually potentially be a kill shot like it used to be.
I know, rather than this little tantric massage that it is now. Just some gentle penetration.
Oh, God. One of the interesting changes here is aspects are now off of their own cooldown. They're on the regular global cooldown, which, as a PvPer, I can tell you absolutely sucks. But I can also tell you that anybody who has played PvP seriously is probably macroing their aspects into their steady shot or Cobra shot.
And
Zumio, is that?
Yeah.
Zumio, would you concur with that?
Absolutely. I do it. I know half the decent hunters do it.
Yeah, I tried to, I managed it manually in raiding for so many years that so for quite a long time, and I was thinking to myself, I can do this fine in PvP. It's just that there's so many more things to do in PvP, and there's never a situation where you want to be firing something with a cast shot and then have to move and have it interrupted. So, if you're doing some sort of focus regen shots, you always, even if you think you can stand still for the whole thing, you still want to be an aspect of the Fox. So for me, anything that wasn't a focus regen shot had hard cast Hawk macroed in, and both of my focus regen shots had had Fox built in.
So let me ask you this, Zumio. Does this mean, because this change blows goats, right? It's like gargling drawn icy men. So does this change mean that PvP players, you're basically always going to be in Fox now?
I think so. I haven't really done a massive amount of testing because it's just horrible. It's a horrible mechanic. But I can't imagine people are going to be wasting half a second switching to aspect of the Hawk before they cast Chimera shot, etc. I think people are just PvP in Fox because it's easier. The real issue with it is that hunters were macroing it because it's such a messy mechanic. It's pointless. It doesn't add anything. Like I said, and you watch that video that I made, and this is just a joke because it's basically just making it annoying. It doesn't have to be. They just should make steady shot castable on the move, and that fix it. But now with half a second cooldown, you said how much we have to switch aspects in PvP. It's just a mass nerf.
Yeah, and it's really
a hell of a lot of time.
And even in PvE, even in raiding, it's going to be an interesting decision now because to switch aspects, you're triggering the global cooldown. You're losing a second, you're losing a second no matter what, which means you're losing a shot or most of a cast time shot. So it is a DPS loss every time you switch aspects. So the question is being able to, and keep in mind, let's assume you want to be in Hawk for most of the time. Now there's a situation where you're going to need to move. So you're going to need to burn a global cooldown to switch to Fox, shoot some stuff while you're on the move, which means you're also probably going to be shooting your instant shots while you're on the move in Fox with a lower damage because you can't afford to switch back and forth. At the end of that movement period, you're going to switch back to Hawk. So the question is, did you gain enough damage or because you're losing 2 seconds? So the question is, would you have lost 2 seconds worth of shots anyway for movement? This is a horrible solution. I understand their problem that they didn't want it macroed, and I understand historically the solution to that has normally been they just baked it into the ability, which I kind of wish they had gone that route, because right now, man, is it going to hurt to switch aspects, and I have a feeling this basically makes movement skills, for a while throughout Cataclysm, they've made movement skills easier and easier and easier. You don't have to stutter step anymore, and Aspect of Fox was introduced. Mm-hmm. And now they're going to turn around and make those movement skills harder and harder and harder, because somebody who switches aspects a lot is probably doing it wrong. There's probably just very small, specific times where it's worthwhile. And it especially blows because you get so much more focus back now with your shots. You don't need to be in Fox as long, but, two global cooldowns lost every time you pop into Fox and out. I hate it.
All right, but basically, the most interesting thing I find is that they removed stance dancing from Warriors at the start of Cataclysm because it felt really messy. They were macroing it and all that as well, and then they gave it to Hunters, and there was literally a post a couple of weeks back within a week of each other. On one hand, Ghostcrawler was like, we don't want Warriors to macro them, so we're just giving them a bit of a cooldown. They're still off the global cooldown, so they can still macro them, but they can't spam them. And then a week later he posted, we don't want Hunters macroing them, so we've shoved them on the global cooldown. It's just like,
what I would like to see?
Seriously.
I would like to see aspect of the Fox no longer be an aspect. It would be a cooldown that you could use maybe once every 30 seconds or once every minute that just gave you a couple of seconds of the equivalent of free casting that allows you to cast it on the move.
It may be. That would maybe work, but again, we are quite focused after though it's less of an issue on the beta. So I'm not sure if that would work. Considering in Arena as well, I'm thinking if you use that and then people just start lossing you, it's just.
Yeah. Well, the other big question is it really a problem if you had it baked in? It's macroed right now, so it automatically works all the time. Is that really a problem? Does that really make Hunters too tough is the first question, right? So, because anything you do to remove that functionality is effectively a nerf. It's either a nerf in damage, which is like putting on the global cooldown, or it's a nerf in brain span if you actually have to push the buttons manually because they just can't be macroed. So do we really need that nerf? It's got to come from PvP. We obviously don't in PvE.
Yeah, but maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe that's what they're trying to make the difference between PvP and PvP there. And that they're doing that so that PvP people will be forced into Aspect of the Fox so they can balance separately. But I don't think it'd be a massive. It's a problem. It's a definite problem. You can't expect Hunters to keep spending global cooldowns and switching aspects. You can't. So they do need to do something.
Well, I'm going to predict that this mechanic doesn't make it to the next expansion, but I'm deathly afraid that we're going to actually hold on to it for almost all of this one. And I think it's really messy. It's really sloppy. And I think you're going to see a lot of Hunters, at least in PvE. Well, I think in PvP, you're going to see them just in Fox. In PvE, you're going to see them it's basically almost never worth going into Fox. Now, all of a sudden, we have mechanics that are almost never used. I think that's what's going to end up happening.
Yeah, this may be sort of the next Hunter quality of life battle that we've got. We just got rid of the minimum range, and this might be the next sort of clunky mechanic that we focus our attention on.
I don't know, man. This might be the next immolation trap. This might be the next thing that sure, there's going to be the occasional fights where now you get into the run like crazy phase. You know what? It's worth blowing 2 global cooldowns to get into Fox and out at the end of the phase. But I think for most fights, it's just going to be nope, learn to move really well. Occasionally you'll lose a Cobra shot. Oh well. And we're just going to see that this ability gets really seldomly used, which is sad, right? It'll be if you're in PvP, you use this one. If you're in PvE, you use this one, and you rarely ever switch them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll find out we switch them a lot, but unless there's a lot of fights with a lot of predictable and longer
running periods. Because like right now, if you're in a raid, it's like, oh, I need to get out of the way, but I'm in the Cobra section of my rotation. No problem. I'll switch to Fox for one Cobra shot, and then I'll switch out. Well, now this will be a DPS loss to do that. So like if you switch to Fox, you better need to use it for several cast time shots.
Mm-hmm. So the other change we should probably talk about is Dire Beast, and this I don't think will go live, but the tooltip, at
We
least
don't know what the change is. This is clearly a data mining error.
The data mining says that it now lasts until canceled. That can't be right.
Mm-hmm. Rather than instead of lasting 15 seconds, it lasts forever unless you decide you don't want it anymore. That's obviously not going to be the final implementation. I'm sure this patch isn't actually on the beta yet, so we can't see what it really is. This is just data mine, but it's obviously a data mining error where this is like in the tooltip and just the 15 seconds disappeared. I think this actually happened with some other abilities where they gave it the ability where it says it lasts this long or until canceled, and somehow the this long got left off the tooltip.
Right.
So data miners thought it lasted forever. Or the data mining robots. I shouldn't blame the data miners. It's not their fault. But yeah, so it's absolutely not going to last forever, and we have to wait for the patch to actually hit the beta before we can see what it really is.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about charge and disengage, or did you want to go through some of these others?
Well, let's just quick zip through the rest of these changes, and then we'll get into some of the bigger stuff. Careful aim was buffed a tiny little bit. It's still not the old careful aim. Black arrow was nerfed a little bit. Focus fire was also nerfed a little bit, because keep in mind, focus fire is that stacking frenzy stacks for BM pets, then you consume those frenzy stacks to get the haste bonus. They buffed the haste bonus to 6%, and then they buffed it way up to 8%. Now they've nerfed it back to 6%, and I think they found out they can do that because they also nerfed the benefit that frenzy gives the pet directly. Since they nerf that, they don't need as much of a buff to the benefit to haste to consume those frenzy stacks. And so I kind of thought that was going to end up at 7, but it ended up at 6%.
Yeah,
and that is all of the little tweaks. But yeah, let's go talk about charge and disengage. Let's start with, before we actually get into the blue post, do we want to go ahead and describe how it used to work and how it works now?
I'll let Zumio take this one.
Oh, all right, yeah. Before 4.3, which is when they changed the charge kind of thing, where charge actually you can't jump it and it goes straight to the target. You could like disengage charges, which what I mean by that is, if you disengaged and then got charged, you wouldn't just drop down halfway. Same with any stun or any route now. If it hits you halfway through your disengage when you're in the air, you'll just drop down. And even if you get feared or disoriented, you don't even drop down. You actually go back to where you started from. And this is just completely, it's just messy.
Yeah,
wrong and messy.
And the reason they did this is, and it's kind of like disengage got caught up in a different fix they did. The reason they did it is warriors have this ability to charge, which is kind of a effed up broken ability anyway, because they can like ignore terrain. But anyhow, warriors have this ability to charge, and some people realized, oh, if a warrior charges me and I jump, it doesn't work. Because they charge to a position rather to you or something, or they charge to you rather anyhow. But you could jump to completely negate charge, and Blizzard was like, "Well, that shouldn't happen, so we'll make this change that incidentally also means that like you can you disengage, somebody charges you, and like you either drop down, you get teleported back to your starting position, but then everything else is effed up too now."
Mm-hmm.
It's just.
Nobody
it was a kind of byproduct of that change. Yeah.
So they were making. So my point is, they were making a change to fix a legitimate problem, but then they just totally effed over hunters in the process.
Yeah. So do we think this is something they're going to address, or is this just going to be the way it is, though?
What is blue? Okay, so somebody was complaining about this. Ghostcrawler responded with a really long response, and let's see where the thing where we actually get to his solution is. He kind of explained how the server client thing works and blah, blah, blah.
It's stupid because he said, one of the points he said, you can't have disengaged because you were just charged, right? So the server is the final arbiter of what the order of stuff that happens is. Except that if you disengage and you get charged, and the server's like, no, you didn't disengage, you're right here. Your cooldown is still used.
That also blows. That's a good point. That's a really good point. But ultimately, Ghostcrawler said, we understand the frustration, though, and it's possible we could try to make a distinction between long cooldown abilities like disengage jumps and simply hitting the spacebar. We would still likely have to teleport the charger to your final destination or retroactively cancel the charge, both of which are going to feel weird, but like I would be fine if they teleport the charger to your final destination. Well, actually, that's kind of lame, too. Why can't they just make it exempt, man? We're disengaging. Make it work the way that makes sense.
Traditionally, like, charge isn't really the problem. It's all the other stuff, like kidney shot, gouge, roots, etc. That's the real issue. Because all of that wrecks it now as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't really care if they fixed everything else and just made it so charge still does it. I mean, whatever. But
that's partly because charge is not something that happens that frequently. I mean, warriors are common in PvP, and that is one of their key abilities, but they're only one class. Everybody else now has some sort of ultimate hunter counter that they can use. Disengage is a huge ability for us in PvP, and now anytime your hunter, the hunter that you're facing, his disengage is off cooldown, there's no reason to not use it.
Right, basically a turn off the hunter disengage ability button. So hopefully they come up with a solution. It sounds like the solution that they're talking about isn't going to help us that much. Well, I suppose if they retroactively cancel the charge, that would make disengage effectively work the way it should. And probably against all the abilities. But you're right, I actually hadn't thought about that until you mentioned it, Euripides, the fact that, like our disengage gets canceled, but, we still trigger the cooldown. We still put it back on cooldown.
It doesn't get canceled. It just, as far as the server is concerned,
all the benefit of
denying,
it gets canceled.
Yeah, the server is denying your client's ability to place you as far as you wanted to during the disengage. So yeah, I mean, anyways, that's the way it's been working for a while now, and hunters are still PvPing. I imagine we might see some changes to that, but hunters have bigger issues in PvP, I'm sure. Speaking of which, Zumio. I've been watching the videos that you've been putting out for PvP in Mists, and I gotta say, it's pretty fascinating stuff. Some of the analysis you've got up there.
So why don't you give us a big overview of Hunter PvP in Mists, starting with this. Is it better?
It's a tricky one. It's weird. It's fun. I'm having a lot of fun, which I think is the main thing, and it seems to be viable. Obviously, I haven't really done many arenas yet, so I'm not. But my bread and butter is really world PvP and battlegrounds and stuff. But I think it is slightly better because we're more versatile. Like we have more ways to customize at the class to our playstyle. I mean, now you've just got to kite stuff around and do damage, But in you've got a load of glyphs, like knockback glyphs. You've got every spec having readiness and silence. That's another big thing. All three specs are viable now. It's like, marksmanship or bust, really. Even though BM does look to be the best spec in Mists, the other two aren't completely rubbish like they are now. So I'd say it's better. There's a lot of issues. There's a couple of issues, a couple of big issues, that they need to address. But I'd say it looks better, yeah, generally.
So what do you think the big issues are right now?
Okay, one big issue that I'm having with it is that we have no, this whole dodge mechanic. We have no kind of compensation if a shot gets dodged, and by that I mean in PvP the cap is 3% for expertise, but agility obviously gives dodge rating. So agility users like rogues and other hunters and ferals and stuff are going to dodge a lot of our shots, and this isn't a problem for classes like warriors because they have abilities like overpower, which when one of their attacks is dodged, they can use that and it does a hell of a lot of damage. Death Knights have stuff like Rune Strike, which can't be dodged. Ferals have a load of bleeds, which are undispellable. So, and also they don't spend focus if they get dodged. But hunters have nothing like that. If we get dodged, I mean, I'm not sure if we get the focus back. Even if we do, it's still a wasted GCD.
Yeah, the way it works right now,
I think that's going to be quite a big issue.
The way it works right now is if we're dodged, the shot only costs 20% of the focus that it normally would. So it doesn't cost us the full focus, but we don't get refunded the entire amount. It appears that we just spend 20% of the focus that the shot should have cost.
Yeah.
But
imagine how a shot gets dodged.
Right.
Or half our stuff has cooldowns, like.
Right, and or your trank shots and your silences.
They should make counterattack a ranged ability.
Yeah. Well, we need something. We absolutely do, because a lot of our stuff does actually have cooldowns, like Chimera shot, etc., and trank shot, as you say, although it's spammable, so it's not such a big issue. But if that gets dodged, I mean, think how far that's going to set us back if we only get 20. Only cost 20%. That doesn't matter if we've got still like 10 seconds to do it again.
Yeah. Or
no other class has that.
Yeah.
No other class has that handicap.
So I guess the value of expertise in PvP will be a little bit higher than it is in PvE relative to the other stats.
Yeah, perhaps, because if you cap it, you're still not capped versus agility, and PvE, obviously, if you are capped, you're capped. You're never going to get stuff dodged.
And it's interesting because we may end up. I guess some of it's going to depend. I think what's going to end up happening is there's going to be certain classes that are just going to be extra more hard for hunters, right? Those agility dodge classes, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're fighting a mage, you're not really worried about them having lots of dodge. But so it'll be interesting to see what the general belief is about the PvP value of expertise, and how much expertise above 3% do you need to reasonably be sure that you normally won't be dodged by some of these agility classes, and is that sacrifice worth it when it doesn't help you against the non-agility dodge classes?
Yeah. Another issue I have is... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to ask a leading question. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say another issue is, they've given us all these pet abilities. Now, that stuff is so easy to balance for PvE, damage-wise, because, the boss doesn't root, or you just stand still most of the time, and they can chase him. But in PvP, Stampede and Dire Beast, one root from a mage is going to render them completely useless. So, I think that's going to be really hard to balance, because they can't just buff the damage, or then PvE gets done over. So I'm not quite sure. I just think stuff like that is really tricky to balance.
Yeah, well, I think one of the balances for that with Stampede was giving it a 20-second duration so that it can outlast just one route. But it's definitely not nearly as cool as I think people were first imagining.
What about a stable of warp beasts? Theoretically, they would all just teleport to him, wouldn't they?
That's a good question. Does root prevent teleporting?
Oh, the ability, the pet teleport ability.
The Warp Stalker, they have the teleport ability.
Right. Oh, that one, I don't know. But actually, hunters have like a dedicated teleport ability, a talent in MOP. I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's quite new.
I don't think that's not. I don't think that's for the beasts that you summon with. The 5 of them. I think that's just for your primary pet. I was thinking if you.
Oh, is that the blink strike you're talking about there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'd imagine that you can't. The Warp Stalker can't teleport while he's rooted. I imagine.
Otherwise, yeah. Another issue that I am pretty certain is a bug, and it's possible in this latest patch it got fixed, but right now hunter pets can be parried, right? So if a hunter pet is attacking from the front, it can be parried in Mists of Pandaria. In Cataclysm Live, they can't. If you're hit capped, your pet is not able to be dodged or parried. And so that's a big difference in PvP, because now your pets are all, not necessarily attacking from behind. And that's super substantial for Kill Command, because right now, and I gotta think this is a bug, right now Kill Command can actually be parried, even though it's a signature shot. And so I did report that, so hopefully that's not intended to be that way.
Yeah, it's true. I hadn't even thought of that.
Because that would also suck for leveling, but that would extra suck for PvP, right? You send your pet over, and I got parried. What?
Yeah, I can't imagine that'll go live. No. Not if you're capped.
Speaking of pets, then now that they've got the changes where you can basically select what kind of pet what you want the pet to be, ferocity, tenacity, or cunning. Is there any pets in particular that work particularly well now for PvE? That's different from Cataclysm for PvP. I mean, yeah.
Oh, PvP. No, not really. Spirit Beast. I'm liking because when you stampede, I'm not sure if this is a bug or not. Because when you stampede and you bring out a load of pets from your stable, I put like 5 Spirit Beasts in my stable, and I use a macro for Spirit Mend, cast type equals Zumio
Yeah,
Spiritman.
Ghost Prowler said that was deliberate.
Really? Wow, that's so hard.
I know he said they're supposed to get their special abilities, and Spirit Beast's special ability is that Spirit Mend.
Yeah, because on my video I did a mend, and it like healed me back to full because it was 5 Spirit Mends. That's insane. I mean, that is crazy.
Now, and that works even with the glyph, right? They have the glyph that'll just take whatever pet you've got summoned and make that
true,
be.
Yeah.
So you can probably just have one Spirit Beast and use that glyph, and you're good to go.
Well, that's way better than what we have now. I mean, hunters have very little in the way of self-healing right now. So this might make the variety of pets you see in PvP very limited, but that would certainly increase our self-healing.
Well, and hey, there you can make an argument that that's the benefit of Stampede in PvP. Sure, they might root or AoE down all the Stampede pets, but as long as all your Spirit Beasts can get their one Spirit Mend off, it's a self-heal cooldown, not a DPS cooldown.
Well, it doesn't need to be self-healed either. You can just use it on, let's say that you could use that as a defensive cooldown. If they're tunneling your healer or something, you can just, Spirit Beast heal them until they could drink it or something. Oh, that's going to be all kinds of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm sure that's something that'll get nerfed if it ends up with if you're going to PvP, or at least if you're going to PvP as BM, you have to have a Spirit Beast so you can do this. Then they'll probably
they've said before they don't like the notion of people having to have a Spirit Beast because they're so annoying for everybody but Dark-Rooted Pain.
I suppose. I got one this morning, by the way, from my other hunter. Just randomly looking around for something else, and there was the wolf in Storm Peaks. So I went, Skull, so I went and grabbed my other hunter and got him, but neither here nor there. But I guess that brings the question then, does that make BM sort of the go-to spec right now, or do you think that, how do you compare the all 3 specs in terms of their viability for PvP?
Well, basically, I don't like survival that much. I don't think it's that brilliant. But marksmanship was good before they nerfed it again. Like in my video, that was before we got all that massive nerf patch. And marksmanship was quite good and fun. BM is still better, and that's still true now. BM is definitely Stampede or not, it's definitely the spec you wanna go for.
I forgot to ask this in the beginning of the show. I'll make sure that there's a link on the show notes. But how do people find your videos?
Oh, my YouTube channel. I think you can just go to YouTube and type in Zumio. I'm not trying to be, or Google even. I'm not trying to be pretentious or anything, but I think
so it's ZUMIO? That's how they would search for it?
Yeah, ZUMIO.
Okay.
ZZ, same.
Yeah. I guess different countries have different ways of saying it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So what are the best changes to PvP in Mists?
I like the fact that we have a decent damage cooldown, because I don't know if any of you have really noticed in Cat we've had rapid fire because marksmanship's been the spec, and that's it. Mm-hmm. That's our only damage cooldown. It's not even that much damage. It's just a load of focus. But I like Stampede does do a lot of damage. It really does. And if your Beast Mastery is actually viable now, which means that you have Beast Giraffe, and then Readiness, and then Beast Giraffe again, and that's a hell of a lot of damage. And as something, I like the fact that Readiness and Silencing Shot are available to all specs, because they're the reason at the moment why marksmanship is the spec to play.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
Any abilities then that the other specs have that would work well for PvP but you just don't have access to? I mean, that would make those other specs more interesting for PvP, like would the survival have stuff to offer or whatever?
Yeah. The only issue is that survival entrapment is still survival only, which kind of sucks, because that's really a core talent. I'm praying that's going to get made available for everything, because really does suck. That's the one thing that survival has over the other 2 specs. Entrapment being the route from Snake Trap and Frost Trap.
So let me ask you this. Actually, let's do it this way, since it's gonna be like a week and a half before we get access to our talents. Let's assume you're playing a BM hunter for PvP. So let's start with level 15 talents: Post Haste, Narrow Escape, or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Chimera.
Oh, this one's so tricky. I'm going to open up the calculator as well. This one's so tricky. I'm using post haste on the beta at the moment because I really like it. I mean, 8 seconds, 60% speed is a lot. It's really a trade-off. I don't think the sticky webs one is that good, although they are underspellable. It depends who you're fighting against. Versus melee, that is probably quite good. But basically, post haste versus crouching tiger hidden chimera is whether you want a shorter cooldown on disengage or whether you want to, have the longer cooldown but have 8 seconds worth of sprinting. Now, offensive disengages, which are where you use disengage to chase people, post haste is so nice for that. So I'm leaning towards post haste at the moment, if I'm quite honest. Although crouching tiger hidden chimera is very good too.
And I got to say, I'm eager to see a video one of these days of an arena match where a goblin hunter uses their rocket jump to jump up to someone and disengage away immediately to web trap them and then run around a corner. I'm keep waiting for that to happen. Okay, so level 30. Silencing shot, wyvern sting, or binding shot?
No contest. Silencing shot every time. Apart from if you're versus melee, but just generally you'll want to take silencing shot always.
Yeah. Okay, so level 45, exhilaration, aspect of the Iron Hawk, or spirit bond.
Now, obviously, the interesting thing, as we talked about, is that if hunters are going to be spending a lot of their time in aspect of the fox, that renders the aspect of the Iron Hawk pretty irrelevant, even though it's really a PvP talent. So it's really between exhilaration and spirit bond, and exhilaration I think is nicer.
So
although it doesn't actually, it depends really. In a duel, exhilaration probably isn't. Because you can kite and stuff, but in arena, acceleration every time.
Sure, and that's a 30% cooldown on command. Okay, so level 60. Now we're getting into DPS ones, or focus ones rather. Same thing. Fervor, Dire Beast, or Thrill of the Hunt.
For Beast Mastery, Dire Beast is quite nice, as it does do a bit more damage than the other specs. I was using that as BM, but as marksmanship, I was kind of switching between Fervor and Thrill of the Hunt, because both are really nice. Especially now, Thrill of the Hunt got buffed since I made that video, so it's even nicer now because you'll get more of them. 3 free arcane shot. Didn't arcane shot get buffed recently as well?
Yep.
It got a small buff. Yep.
Yep. So that puts Thrill of the Hunt up there a bit more as well. It's a close one. It's a close one because Thrill of the Hunt obviously is a bit more RNG, but then again it does proc a lot. I'd say Thrill of the Hunt. If I had to go for one, generally, because it's another keybind that you don't have to have.
True. Good point. So on level 75, a Murder of Crows, Blink Strike, or Lynx Rush.
Yeah, Murder of Crows sucks. It's really bad. Honestly, it's just terrible. So just forget all about that. I'm taking Blink Strike
nice.
at the moment.
A Murder of Crows was so nice when the beta just started too. It was crazy.
I remember it. Yeah, you got people down to 40% just with it. But now, it's not so good. It's just too high a focus cost, 60 focus. I mean, you never have that much in PvP, not really. Blink Strike's really nice. It's BM, Blink Strike is so nice. But I was using it as MM as well, because it does deal a decent amount of damage and it's free. Lynx Rush, well, it's an AoE ability. I mean, AoE stuff in PvP isn't that good.
Yeah, all right, so even though this won't be around in 5.0.3, but at level 90, what are you liking now? Glaive Toss, Power Shot, or Barrage?
Power Shot. Definitely Power Shot. It's loads of fun, and it does hit quite hard. Although I think it could hit harder, if I'm quite honest. It's a 3-second cast. You're not going to be able to get that off much. Barrage could be good. I don't think it deals enough damage, and I think the focus cost is a bit high. But Power Shot, I'm really liking Power Shot. Glaive Toss, no, it doesn't. It's not that good. Power Shot's really nice.
And with Power Shot, it's not just the damage, right? You're also taking advantage of the knockback ability. Well, that's a big aspect of you.
And it's a good knockback as well. It's not like a half-assed one. It's a really, really good one. So you shoot people quite far away.
So have you had any opportunity on the beta to play around with any of the new hunter knockbacks to knock people off of stuff?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. That was fun. My mock video I did the last couple of minutes. It's just me knocking people off because I love doing that. It's so much fun. Skills, but, see you later stuff.
So have you managed yet to knock multiple people off of something at once with an explosive trap or something?
Yeah, that's in the video as well.
I just keep picturing the what is it, Eye of the Storm, and like the huge clusters that form on that bridge, and I'm like, that would be so great. Just hop in there, explosive trap, boom.
The best thing is if you glyph camouflage and you take the stealth, nobody will even know they're about to get blown off. I did that actually. I sneaked up to the Alliance PvP vendor. There was like a paladin just sitting there. I just in my stealth pop rapid fire power shot him off to his death. It was hilarious. He had no idea. You could see him kind of realize midair and too late. So funny.
That is awesome. Speaking of which,
the
how
explosive
strong is
trap.
how strong is the stealth when you have the glyph? Obviously, it's not as strong as a rogue, right?
No, I don't think so. No, it seems to be all right. I mean, you can't get that close to people. Hunters obviously really far away, but people without the improved stealth detection, yeah, it's not brilliant. But I don't think people will take it in arena really, but because you move so slowly. But it's okay. It's not that bad. It's nothing to complain about.
Well, what sorts of glyphs then are you looking to take for PvP? Because they've made quite a few changes to them and some interesting things. We just sort of touched on the explosive trap knockback effect via the glyphs. Is that a sort of like you feel something mandatory for PvP, or what kinds of things are you looking at?
Yeah, explosive trap. It wasn't before. It was kind of not that good before they changed it, because before it still did the damage and it still like did the AoE thing on the floor, and that's not a good thing for PvP, because if you picture it like in arena, if you knock a healer off the edge and he comes back up, he can stand in that trap area and keep taking damage and be immune to all your CC. But now it's just now the damage component is completely removed. Yeah, it's almost mandatory. It's really, really good. The other glyphs I was taking, I was having loads of fun with the deterrence reflect glyph, because no one's realised yet the hunters have got a reflex now. I mean, I know we've got it at survival at the moment, but no one's survival. But in the beta, so I've been reflecting a load of deep freezes and lava bursts and stuff. That's always quite fun, and it's actually quite good. It's actually quite good. Like I think it'll be a contender. And what else was I using?
Do you want to walk us through the mechanic for the deterrence reflect? Is it something that all spells are reflected during the duration, or some, or? Yeah,
that's exactly no. Well, 5-second spell reflect during deterrence. It's pretty fun.
Okay.
Every single spell, apart from I doubt like stuff like Chaos Bolt, because that goes through deterrence. I doubt that'll get reflected, but everything else.
No, I was just gonna say that's the mirrored blades glyph, which I believe was a talent in survival. Right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. But nobody expects survival, so nobody's used to having hunters with reflex. So it's quite fun giving them a taste of their own medicine,
So if you see them charging up a polymorph, you can just hit deterrence.
Exactly what I was going to ask.
Yeah, you can, and they'll get sheeped. Yeah, you'll sheep a mage essentially. It's quite fun.
I can't wait. I don't care if they can dodge. I want 5.0 to be here so fast, so bad.
But you got to be careful with that glyph though, because if you use it versus the Death Knight, like if you're a flick Death Grip, he like jumps towards you. It's really, really, really I actually what I did actually is I put an explosive trap down next to an edge, and then attacked DK and reflected him into my trap, and he got knocked off the edge. It was awesome. It's probably my favorite.
That is ridiculous. Do you have that on video somewhere, or?
Yeah, it's on my video. I slowed it down and then pointed it out. It was probably the best moment I had. I laughed so hard.
Which one was that? What was the name of the video so people can look it up?
It was called Zumio 1.5 Mock Beta PvP. If you type in Zumio 1.5, it should be top result.
All right.
That was loads of fun. That was great. And also the other glyph, we'll have to take the Master's Call one, which increases the duration of Master's Call by 4 seconds. Because we need 8-second freedoms. We just do. But the glyph that you'll want to change around is the deterrence one. So if you wanted to take the camouflage stealth, you'd substitute the deterrence effect, I think.
Gotcha.
Oh, and also, BM hunters should probably use the glyph of Menpet, which makes Menpet dispel magic effects and all that. So that, like, if you're versus a mage, you can just keep Menpet up and it'll dispel all their roots on your pet, so your pet's not useless.
Oh, nice. So somebody in the chat room is asking, how OP is Glaive Toss? And it sounds like not very, since you're taking power shot.
No, it's not that OP. No, it doesn't hit that hard.
I know in
agree.
PvE, Glaive Toss is looking like the best choice for single target damage. But yeah, in PvP, Zumio was saying power shot.
It's just the knockback is really nice. I mean, you can basically put someone back at max range if you get that off, which is just
Yeah.
awesome.
Is
Oh, it's
yeah,
AOE
okay.
as well. AOE
Yeah.
knockback. So I might picture it versus Lumbermill. You got a load of allies. Sorry, you guys are allies. You got a load of players. I'll say it's about to capture the flag, and you just load a power shot off in the middle of them. They'll all go flying. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
And
someone
but
in
it's actually quite. Sorry.
the, go ahead.
No, go on.
It's just
Yeah, I
Oh,
guess
no.
I'm picturing like somebody trying to like cap the flag in like a Wrathy basin, and can you actually have a hunter? I mean, is the knockback far enough to knock him back from the flag off the cliff?
Easily, yeah.
Because then you could actually have like a hunter defending the flag in camo, just sitting there.
Yeah.
If someone comes up, pew!
Yeah, that'll be
and that's-
RPGs. We'll use that.
Yeah, and it's because it's our range, right? So there's only so many classes that can knock you off of Lumbermill. Well, we're going to be the one that can do it from camo, from inside the. When you're charging it up, do you stay in camo like you do for aim shot?
Yeah, you do, yeah.
Oh.
You got to be
So that, and then you just hope it's not dodged.
Well, what you could do is
what I've been doing now, I've been using a monkey, and I've kind of monkey stunned them in the right place while I've been casting the power shot, so they like come back away from the edge and they just go flying. It's brilliant.
and you could even try and chain them up, right? So if you're in camo, you could launch an explosive trap where you think that they'll end up after the power shot, and then power shot them into the explosive trap. And then
I did that with Paladin. I called it Paladin ping pong because he was bouncing around. So,
You know what that reminds me of? Oh my goodness. So I'm picturing like a bunch of hunters with a bunch of explosive traps, and in Wrath there was that minefield up in the Storm Peaks.
yeah,
Right.
So somebody like runs in, do 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 do, bah, boing boing boing.
Yeah.
so Zumio, all hunter.
I'm seeing a new hunter strategy, man.
Yeah, Zumio, all hunter RPG group. We can all have stables of 5 spirit beasts to keep ourselves healed. We can have hunter ping pong with explosive traps all over the map. I don't know, man. I think this is going to beat Shadowcleave.
I don't know. I'm thinking.
First time I have to get it going. Make a Warcraft Hunters Union all hunter knockback raid, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, get the WHU going on. Do some Wrathy Basin, some battlegrounds, or hell, go ahead and do a For the Alliance and go attack some Horde city. And it's like, okay, if the Horde come and attack us, everybody drop an explosive trap. Bing, 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 bing.
Awesome. So, do you guys want to do some listener Q&A with the time we have left, so people can get a chance to ask Zumio some questions?
We have only one question from Esdevip, who says, "It's my birthday."
Well, happy birthday.
Was that the question?
Happy birthday.
That's our Q&A.
Well, actually,
God.
someone in the chat room did bring up a point, and I've heard you talk about it in one of your videos, Zumio, about the glyph of concussive shot, which no longer exists. You want to touch about that? Because you thought that was an important glyph, and kind of sad to see it go. Maybe talk about what it did and why it's needed.
Yeah, basically a feral runs, I think, at like 100. If you're sprinting, he runs at like 190% speed. And if you slowed him with concussive shot on Glyphs, he would be slowed to 140% speed, which is still, way too fast to kite properly. But if you took the concussive shot Glyph, it slowed him to run speed first, so it slowed him to 100%, and then slowed him again 50%. So it's big versus classes with sprints, and because in MOP melee really don't have that much of an issue getting to hunters. I don't know why we haven't got it. It shouldn't even be a glyph because it should be in with the ability. Because I'd rather keep the glyph slots open, as that one would 100% be mandatory if it was re-implemented as a glyph. But it sucks that it's been removed. I hope they rethink it because we kind of need it.
So other than possibly being overpowered in the minds of Blizzard. Was there an explanation as to why it was removed?
No,
Or
it's just well, actually, what happened? I think what happened was, they removed concussive shot at the start of the beta, and it was you only had that arcane shot glyph. You had the glyph arcane shot to also slow the target.
Right.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah, and I reckon they just removed it down because they thought, no concussive shot in the game, no point in having this glyph. I just think they never re-implemented it.
That's an interesting point. Have you submitted that to Blizzard on the beta?
No, there's no point really doing it on the EU forums because
Well, not the forums, but as a bug request.
I might do. I mean, I'm hoping. I just bring it up in countless videos, and I know people tend to link it on the forums and stuff, link it and send it to Blizzard. I saw a thread on the US forums. Somebody linked my video. It got quite a few thumbs up. So yeah, I just try and bring them to light, and people tend to go and test.
So I got a couple of things actually here for the audience regarding Euripides. First of which is I need to point out the horrible way in which Euripides shot down the greatest idea in the world. Because when I heard we were going to get Zumio on the show, I was like, dude, you know what we need to do? We need to do a show where I'm playing in a battleground with my Spore Bat and my PvE gear, and Zumio, and I demand that Zumio tell me what to do and how to win. I think that would be an awesome show, especially if it was live streaming, where I'm just running around like, oh God, what do I do now? And Zumio's like, okay, well, Master's Call out of that. Where's the Master's Call button? And I'm opening my spell book.
Yeah, that's not fair to Zumio. Yeah, you know what? Fine. Then I demand that you stand there and watch me huntard my way through a raid I don't know how to do, and just tell me what to shoot and when to shoot it, when to get out of the void zone and stuff.
I think that my idea would be massively entertaining and better than yours. So also some business to attend to, because I promised Euripides I would have something that he would like.
I'm not sure I believe you.
I was taking a look at some of the PvP gear, and if you'll recall, we had a bet about that.
Yes, vaguely.
PvP power and resilience, and I thought, hey, some gear will have power, some will have resilience, so there could be interesting choices in which gear you take first. And you were like, no, they'll have both on every piece of gear. And they have both on every piece of gear. You won that, Euripides.
Okay. So what did we bet for?
I'm pretty sure it was a friendship bracelet. We can have Ollie go back and figure out exactly what the bet.
I'll go back and find it. I'll let you know.
But yeah, so I think this is a historic occasion.
I want to bet. I can't believe it. Next time it's going to have to be something more substantial.
Yeah, I still think my idea on how it would work would be far more interesting.
Yeah, but then nothing would be balanced. They'd have to balance around an entirely new set of potential gear ratios. Like, well, what if the hunter goes all defensive, and like, what would that do to all these comps?
No, it's because you have one set of gear, right, that goes up each tier. So it's not like you could get more PvP power than you could via your way. You could just choose which you get first. Right? Because like if your set of gear has 1,000 PvP power and 1,000 resilience, my set of gear still has 1,000 PvP power and 1,000 resilience. It's just on yours, every single piece has a little bit of each. And on mine,
luckily I'm right and you're wrong. And next time we bet, I think I'm going to bet that you shave your wrists and take photos of them. No, your entire arms. You shave your entire arms. I imagine that'd be really weird. You'd have like arm stubble.
No, I was going to say, I imagine a week down the road, that would be really itchy. I think that
I wonder how fast it would grow back.
I have no idea.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
But Aspect says that I should try to win your sister.
Nice. Luckily, she doesn't listen to the show. So,
he also says, I don't think there's a blade that can cut his wrist hair.
Well, I can see whose side he's on.
That reminds me of an interesting discovery I made when I was in high school. I was working at a bookstore, and it was very boring at the time. And somehow I made the discovery that I could take a stapler to my arm, and the staple wouldn't penetrate. naturally I came to the conclusion that I had skin of steel. And so I was demonstrating this to one of my coworkers, how amazingly badass and how I was developing superpowers. And my coworker was like, no, that's not true. That's just because you have a long sleeve shirt that's blocking it. And I was like, dude, the shirt is like nothing. The shirt's not going to stop a staple. It's my skin of steel. So to prove it, I rolled up my shirt and stapled my skin. And yeah, there was no resistance. That just went right in, flush with the skin.
How did you make it to?
And I had to dig that sucker out too.
How did you make it to to however old you are?
You know, math and
That's awesome. So we're almost out of time here, but Zumio, was there anything else that you think would be interesting to talk about for PvP in Mists of Pandaria, or even in live before we sign out and do the post show?
Yeah, I think that I just like to say that I think everyone should definitely think about having a dabble in PvP, because it does look to be very fun. Bind your knockbacks and have some fun.
What is it about knockbacks? I mean, you can't win a battle with knockbacks, but the second I have this idea of wandering around in camo with a knockback and several knockbacks, I just get borderline giddy. Like, I'm not going to get 2200 with these abilities. I'm probably not even going to win an arena match with any of these abilities. Just going into a random battleground and knocking people off of things is just so appealing to me. Why is that? What is it about human psychology that makes knockbacks so much more valuable to the person than actual damage would be, or damage mitigation?
Because it's like, like you said, it will actually win you a fight. It's like a no effort thing for like a hilarious plummet to death.
I would need some sort of macro that would slash wave to somebody as they were falling.
No, I think you're right though. It's one of those things that somebody could be like, yeah, I'm going to go into battlegrounds and I'm going to spend all my time trying to knock people back. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get killed. And 1 time out of 10, I'm going to knock them off a cliff. And I'm going to be like, this is awesome. And the other ability you had that, your average hunter got creamed 90% of the time, they, wouldn't waste their time on it. But I feel like with knockbacks, it's like, no. I'm like, dude, I would do 50 battlegrounds just to get like a triple chain knockback happening. Right? If I could knock someone into something that knocked him into something that knocked him into something that knocked him off a cliff, that would be worth losing 50 battlegrounds and doing nothing else for.
I queue up with a group of friends usually, and I, typically if one of them has a healer, I try and queue up with a healer, because I'm like, we'll win more battlegrounds that way. Healers win battlegrounds. I think I would probably prefer to queue up with a group of like 5 hunters for random battlegrounds.
Even though you would do worse in the battlegrounds.
And I was even thinking, I'm just like, what if I get all the gear and I get to the point where I can just, beat the crap out of somebody or your average player in a random battleground? I think I would almost rather, beat them to within an inch of their life and then knock them off the side than just kill them.
Yeah. in insult to injury, yeah, exactly.
It's just, there's something about, like, I remember the Wrath of the Lich King beta when that thing was out and BRK was doing all of his videos. The one video that I remember the most, even more than his volley video, was his video with the knockback rhino bowling. That was awesome.
Yes, it was. That was a super popular video too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was awesome. It was rhinos had an ability called Stampede.
Yeah,
that was group knockback.
I get the sense that we're getting a little bit of comeuppance for having to live an entire expansion without that. Anyways, I don't know if you can hear my alarm going off, but I think it's 3 o'clock. Probably
I do indeed hear the alarm.
Yeah, she's good. She's 3 now. Anywho, you have been listening to episode 141 of the Hunting Party podcast. This is Euripides from @dps.com, WoW Insider, and the Call to Auction podcast.
And I'm Darkbrew from thebrewhall.com and the Brewhall on Twitter.
And this is Frosttime from Warcraft Hunters Union, WoW Insider, and Auction Call Girls podcast. That's right.
And I'm Molly Sonder from the Hunting Party podcast.
Zumio, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a real blast. I'm going to go and watch that video that you were, the ping pong video, as soon as we finish this call.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
We'll have to do it again sometime for sure. So that said, we're on iTunes, YouTube, and Stitcher, and if you don't use any of those, we have RSS feeds.
And if you like us, please don't be shy about leaving us a review on iTunes or on YouTube, especially one where you mention how uncommonly good-looking Frosttime is.
Or what you stapled to yourself as a young boy. You can submit a title for this week's show by emailing us at huntingpartypodcast@gmail.com and have your name mangled on air.
Stay thirsty, my friend. What? By
professionals.
professionals. That's right. Stay thirsty, my friends, and remember to drink your dark brew lager.
Don't forget to spare or neuter your feral druid.
For the Horde.
And don't forget to pay your dues.
That For the Horde is particularly appropriate today because Zumio is in fact Horde. And Zumio, you never win Alliance to get the Every Man for Himself?
No, I didn't. Because
everyone else
Troll is just I'm too awesome. Could never do that.
If I were to go Horde, I'd probably go Orc because of I guess they're nerfing it a little bit, but the % damage buff for your pet, which is a big deal in PvP.
Yeah,
but
they butchered that, man. Horde dropped from like the number 1 DPS race for all hunters down to the number 1 DPS race for all hunters by a smaller margin.
I can jump shot, BM, MM, and SB. I can rock out any tree. Never worried about my threat, 'cause I've got FD and misdirect. Catching loose mobs in my traps. I never miss, 'cause I am hit capped. 'Cause I'm the hunter, not the marked. I'm the fighter, not the spark. I'm the kiter, not the kite. I'll top the meters every fight. Rated in the game, dealing death. Just me, my gun, and my trusty bed. Now let's begin with Illidan, Osirian, and Gil'jaden, Magdamar, Asgalor, Gruul, Cthulhu, and Razorgore, Onyxia to Ragnarok,